Hey guys, welcome to another video and thanks for clicking on this one. As you know, on this channel, my goal is to inform, educate, and share my experiences. And hopefully you don't have to make the mistakes I made. And if it's something that has benefited me, hopefully you're able to learn those things and use it to your benefit. At the end of the day, we all are in this world. And when it comes to finances, there's always this idea of gatekeeping things and keeping it from the other person from learning or from benefiting from those knowledge or the ideas and things like that. And I understand because it's almost like a taboo to even talk about money in some places. So I get it. But in this particular video, I really want to talk about 6 to 7 points. And these are things that has honestly impacted my ability to make money and invest money, especially as an immigrant. And as you know, on this channel, I focus a lot of my topics on immigrants. Not that my topics only applies to immigrants, but at the end of the day, I feel like we've made a huge sacrifice depending on where you have migrated from. You know, we have loved ones, family members, and let's just face the fact. We left those places for, for the ability to make more money and just have a better life, lead a better life, and just be successful. Not that we cannot be successful in our home countries, to be honest. It's not possible. It's just that the opportunities are limited. So let's start with the first one. You're new here, by the way. Please don't forget to drop a like on the video. It goes a long way. I would appreciate you guys doing that. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please feel free to subscribe to the channel as well, especially if you believe that you are gained something from the information I'm sharing with you. So the first thing that I would like to share with you is, and this one, I remember when I first moved here, I understood how stocks work, I understood how bonds work, but at the same time, I was still very skeptical because this was around 2010. And if you guys remember, 2008 was the financial crisis. 2009, things were just kind of getting out of the old financial crisis. And 2010 wasn't, much of a great year. So anyway, the point here is there was a very huge hesitancy or hesitation on my part to learn about the stocks and how to invest in a new country. Now, if you are new and you haven't started investing, or if you're new in the country or haven't started investing yet, one of the things I always say is educate yourself, but know that the time that you lose not investing will impact you, especially due to the fact that you won't have that compound interest, working for you during those times. So educate yourself. Financial literacy would save you a lot of headache down the line. And if that means learning how to budget, how to invest, how to save, and maybe how to make money, right? Those areas are very important. The next point would be not taking advantage of the skills that you already have. You see, we all have skills. Some of us, and think about your skills as talents as well. It doesn't have to be your ability to do technical things. Your ability to, maybe your skill may be your ability to speak. Maybe your skill is the ability to make points and arguments. And the point here is maybe your skill is the ability to design things, right? Maybe your skill is your ability to fix cars, whatever that may be, whatever you've been blessed with, that you believe that you have somewhat of a decent understanding of that subject, of that area, that niche, all right? As long as you have an above average knowledge, expertise, information in that area, it might even be your passion, by the way, then try to capitalize on it. Start something. If for example, if your thing is reading about finance, like for me, right? I started this finance channel quite late. I wish I had started a long time ago when I got into the groove of learning things. But guess what? There's always that fear of feeling inferior, feeling like you don't have what it takes, feeling like you can't do it, feeling like you are inadequate. And those are the things that will hold you back. But guess what? you can actually start those things with what you have already. You don't have to be an expert, and that's the fact about it. So undervaluing your skills is one big thing that I definitely did. Okay, and I wish I had taken that bull by the horn much sooner. Now, this third aspect is something that I believe that definitely held me back. All right. If you have been in a situation where you grew up in a place where you don't have access to credit, you don't really know how credit system work, you don't know how your credit score is determined, and you are so afraid of taking on credit or loans, then definitely you would relate with this one. When I moved over here, I was so fearful of getting credit. I was so fearful of taking out loans. I was so fearful of taking a credit card because I believed in the fact of saving money, buying what you can afford. But in reality is that in the country where if you want to get a house, you have to get a loan. If you want to buy a car, you have to get a loan, right? Now, you don't necessarily have to do those things, but your time it takes you to save enough money to afford those things can sometimes be a very long time. It can take a while. Would you now say you're not going to buy a car, even though that car would probably make you more money or help you to get a better paying job? Or would you say you won't buy a house? Because guess what? If house keeps going up in value and it appreciates about 3% every year, then guess what? You are likely to be in a position where it takes you a much longer time to save that down payment or to even save the whole cost of the house. So I made a mistake of not getting my credit score established or credit history established as soon as possible. And I've shared this in some of my past videos where I actually talked about what that means. Because if you have to, let's say, set up a utility account for power, or electricity, or you need to set up, you get a rent or rent a place, or you need to whatever, right? They will generally look at your credit. And if they look at your credit and there's no credit history, they perceive you as being high risk, which means they are likely to not want to loan you or open that account for you or rent you the place, especially if you're trying to rent from rent an apartment. They wouldn't want to rent that place to you because they believe that you're high risk. And for that reason, you are not credit worthy, which means they can't take chances on you. Or for renting a place, you'll be required to actually put down maybe 2 months of rent. You pay the first month and then you pay the last month. Things like that. Just so that they can be assured that you are you can afford it or you can pay those the monthly fees. And this would generally cause a lot of pain. I'll be honest, it cost me a lot of pain. But once I established credit and you maintain that good credit, you start to get it's almost like you start to save money in the process, because instead of you paying that 2 months where you pay the initial first month and you pay the last month, maybe they will only just ask you to pay the first month, or maybe they just ask you to pay the last month, right? Because of a good credit. Same thing with trying to open a utility account for maybe electricity or something like that. They don't ask you to make these down payments that you make that doesn't accrue interest. The money is just held by somebody else benefiting from the interest. That money, you can then keep it to yourself and use it for other things. By the way, if you're finding value in this one, please don't forget to drop a like on the video. It goes a long way. I always say this every time. So I would appreciate you doing that for me. Thank you. Now, this next part, I would say that it wasn't really, as an immigrant, we fail to connect with people. And I think I understand, because there's always this inferiority complex. I believe that's what it's called, where you feel like you are in a place that you don't belong somewhat, right? Yes, you may have family members there, but sometimes you just find it hard to interact with other groups of people from different culture. And what that means is that your ability to network and connect with these people can actually slow your ability of making progress, whether it's in your job, whether it's in your social life, whether it's in just making friends. I'm sure if you go on Instagram or if you go on social media, you would see a lot of people complain about the foreign living in as a foreigner or living as an immigrant in a country and how boring and depressing it is. Generally speaking, that's because the lifestyle here can be very isolating. And then coming as an immigrant can also make you isolate yourself because you feel like you don't belong. And I've been there. I've done those things as well, where I'll go to some social gatherings and you feel like you are not kind of accepted. Not that you're not accepted, but you just feel that way. And you can call that, you may call it whatever you want. You may call it lack of, I don't know. But the point here is your ability to break out of that mindset. And yes, you can't always be friends with everybody. That is the truth. But there's always the need to network, to connect with people, because you see that connection that you make with these other people is likely going to be the next opportunity for you to get a job. It might be the next opportunity for you to get a promotion. It might be the next opportunity for you to make more money, start a business together, things like that. And those things are generally made through good social network. Now, one of the mistakes that I've also made, all right, and this, I'll be honest as well, is being too afraid of taking risk. You see, when it comes to investment, and especially with my job, there's always the tendency, and my job requires that you maintain a very high level of safety, and you avoid risk, you minimize, taking risk and things like that. So when I look at situations of my investment, or when I'm making an investment as well, I'm thinking about, okay, how can I minimize my risk? Because one, I've made mistakes in the past where I ended up investing in something that just didn't make sense. And of course I lost money, right? Because I didn't do my due diligence. So there's always that tendency to want to avoid taking unnecessary risks. But on the other side of risk is also reward. Without risk, there isn't any reward. You have to risk something to make money. You have to take a chance to make money. And if you are the type of person that you are so afraid of taking out loan, you're so afraid of investing in stocks because you fear that you lose your money, you believe that the stock market is rigged, you feel like you don't want to take out a credit or establish a credit score because you feel like it's not necessary, and you don't want to hold anybody. See, those things are likely going to hold you back a lot longer than necessary. And this is where I always say that, yes, you don't have to take excessive risk. If you're taking a risk that will keep you up at night, then maybe you've taken an excessive amount of risk. But you need to be able to take some level of risk. And this is where, if you're going to invest in the stock market, invest in things that will minimize your risk from the onset. So for example, we have index funds, we have ETFs. These are investments or funds that they're already diversified. They already hold a bunch of companies within them. So your chances of your money going to zero is very limited. My own mistake is, of course, it took me some time to start investing in the market because I needed to understand it, but also I was so afraid of, like I said, 2008 was still fresh in my mind. I remember people killing themselves because of this old market crash back then. So I didn't, or in this case, remember, it was the real estate crash, but also it affected the stock market. So the point here is I definitely was apprehensive of investing in the market. I was afraid, and the stock you could lose all your money. That was all I knew, right? So losing time wasn't something that looking back now, I wish I had started some of those investments much sooner, even because at that time, you would have actually made more money because the market wasn't as high, or the valuation of the market wasn't as high as it is right now. I mean, imagine you bought Apple in 2008 or 2009. Yes, you may say that you don't have a lot of money, but hey, even if I bought $100 worth of it, I'm sure I would have tripled my money by now. So I hope that this all makes sense. I hope that you wouldn't make these mistakes. I hope that you have found value in this one. I thought I should share my mistakes with you, and I hope that I'll see you in the next one.